Hi, welcome to Follow a Researcher. My name is Tyler. In this video, I'll be telling you a little bit about myself and how I came to the state of Maine to study crabs and parasites. Currently, I'm a PhD student at the University of Maine with Dr. Ian Bricknell. I'm in the marine biology program, and I'm doing some research studying the European green crab, which is an invasive species to the state of Maine. And I'm specifically looking at a spiny-headed parasite and trying to find out how many of the crabs have it. I had signed up to be an engineering student, so I came for the engineering orientation. And I wasn't completely sold yet. I just was okay at math and science, so I thought engineering made sense. And then while I was here, I mentioned that I had heard about the marine science program, and somebody leading my tour group knew somebody in the marine science department, and they got in touch with the associate director, and he actually came out and like met our little tour group and took me over to the marine science office and told me all about it, and I was sold, and I said, all right, sounds good, and that was it. So I grew up in Connecticut. It's a small town called Canton, very, very much up in the woods. There's not a lot of people who lived up near me. And one of my favorite things about my house growing up was that it was right next to a pond. So I spent a lot of my childhood out in the woods, around the pond, in the swamp, you know, just like catching frogs and turtles and, you know, rowing our little paddle boat around. It was a lot of fun. My parents and I got into a debate about how many turtles we thought were in the pond outside of our house. And I told them, I was like, there's got to be at least 20 or 30. And they said, oh no, you're catching the same 5 turtles every time. And so what me and my brother and sister did was we'd go out in our little boat and we'd scoop the turtles out of the pond, and we brought towels and markers and everything, and we would dry the shells off and we'd mark them with numbers and we'd toss them back, and then every time we caught one that hadn't been marked yet, we would add a new number to it. And we got up to, I think, 19 or 20, but so I had no idea that was a strategy that, you know, actual professional researchers use when they're doing research. As I grew up, I was able to find tiny opportunities to practice science, and I didn't even know at the time that I was doing science. So when I was, I think, in 4th or 5th grade, there was somebody who came to our school and they put up some flyers about something called vernal pool monitoring. So I signed up, and me and my mom went to a little short class, and we learned, you know, what species we were looking for and where we were going to be going, and basically just, you know, for every weekend for a month or two, we would just drive to different places, and we'd go out and we'd count how many salamanders, how much, you know, wet area as opposed to dry area, stuff like that. And so I just thought it was a fun excuse to get outside, but I didn't really realize that information was being used in scientific research. I was a little too young to understand all of the details behind it, but it was a lot of fun for me. One of my favorite things that we used to do every summer was we would take, almost every year, we took a vacation out to Cape Cod, and I was able to kind of spend some time on the beach, and I learned how to catch crabs in the rocks on the beach, just with a clothespin and some rocks and twine, which was a lot of fun. I did all that as a kid, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and now I get paid to do that as a full-time job / graduate degree. There are a lot of pieces of science and a lot of things that you'll see over the next few weeks of videos that you'll realize don't have to come with being a straight-A student or knowing everything or anything like that. A lot of them are just strategies and practices that if you're able to use appropriately, well, you're able to do science just like everybody else. Science is cool. You don't need to be a math whiz or a science superstar. You can just be a regular person. Thanks for following. I'm excited to take you guys on a journey over the next few weeks from the laboratory at UMaine down to some of our field sites along the coast. I hope that you get a chance to see what it's like to be a scientist and to do research. And I hope you're able to see some ways that can parallel with things that you might do in your everyday life. Whether it's doing things like asking questions and defining problems, obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information, planning and carrying out investigations, or developing and using models. These are skills that everyone uses to make informed decisions about the world around them. Next week, I'll be telling you more about my research and where it takes place. Here are some questions for you to think about and discuss over the next week. When have you acted like a scientist outside of school, and what are you curious about? What sorts of things do you do? What are some questions that you have about becoming a scientist? What else would you like to know about being a scientific researcher? I'm looking forward to hearing from you. You can catch a new video and join me live on Twitter each week as I answer questions from followers around the country.